Today, I'm doing our staff appraisals, and some people can get a little bit nervous about that because they think they're, walking the long mile to put their head on the block, which is wrong. They fill out a form in advance, and they don't only sort of list their strengths and weaknesses, but also mine as a boss. So it's a chance for them to tell me where we're going wrong, and we can, it's very much an opportunity. To
Separate the wheat from the chaff.
Well, no, that sounds bad. It's not a witch hunt. We're not trying to find out who the worst people are.
Well, we know who they are already.
Well, no.
I've written them on my form.
You shouldn't have written them on your form.
Look, I've underlined the worst ones.
Well, you're missing the point. Yeah.
PIDP 3230, Evaluation of Learning, includes general theory and specific strategies for me to use when evaluating my students' knowledge, skills, and abilities. The course textbook details 9 purposes of evaluation, 5 principles of authentic evaluation, and 4 traps to consider. I see useful parallels and intersecting ideas with how I evaluate my students and how my own teaching practices should be evaluated. For instance, when I evaluate my students to compare learning progress to learning goals, I should concurrently gauge the effectiveness of my instruction and then adapt as necessary. Feedback from my students is the first step, though additional inputs are required. Peers, supervisors, and external expertise, including literature, can offer insightful feedback and ideas. After this course, I will complete my PIDP capstone. I am looking forward to another structured opportunity for self-reflection and professional feedback on a recorded lesson. I also see great value in synthesizing and critically reflecting on the rest of my PIDP journey to ultimately articulate a personal teaching philosophy. This will help guide my decisions as I strive to improve. Brookfield contends, the process of identifying and researching our assumptions to make sure that they are accurate and valid for the students and content we teach is what I regard as critical reflection. It happens best when we check the accuracy of our actions and assumption through 4 complementary lenses: the lenses of our student size, colleagues' perceptions, literature, and our own autobiography. Most post-secondary institutions have a robust appraisal process for their face-to-face instructors. This can include self-reflection, student input, peer and supervisor reviews. The focus of these appraisals shifts from formative to summative as they are used for decisions about continuing employment. Many institutions offer further support for instructors to evaluate and improve their practice. These can include departmental summative student reaction questionnaires, as well as peer review or mentoring processes. Some institutions offer small group instructional feedback. I am particularly interested in UBC's workshop to explore opportunities and areas in which learning analytics can support you as an instructor in improving teaching, learning, and engagement in your courses. Beyond these institutional offerings, I must explore other ways to evaluate my teaching practice. I offer students an anonymous online feedback form that they may fill out at any time. It asks for feedback on my teaching, the classroom experience, paper documents, online materials, and any other feedback that they may wish to share. Most students will simply talk to me, though I still feel this is a useful practice to continue. I will develop additional topic-specific online feedback forms to share as we progress through course units. These forms are not mandatory, but I will explain to my students how their feedback helps to improve and tailor my teaching to their needs. Finally, for the simplest option, I will continue to observe behavior and body language in class. I will regularly and purposefully ask how things are going and if anything needs to be addressed. These formative feedback opportunities will allow me to refine my teaching strategies to support individual student learning as the course unfolds. Blended learning still allows me to solicit spoken feedback for the classroom component as well as the online resources. But this student-to-teacher formative feedback requires innovation to bridge the distance of online distance education if there is no face-to-face interaction. I have already used technology to automatically grade and provide feedback for multiple choice, true-false, matching, and mathematical calculation questions commonly used in my discipline. With a purposeful design, I can better capture and analyze the data created when my students provide answers. I can then infer how effectively my online instruction is being received. In time, I will be able to stack additional data analytics, including session behavior, bounce rate, and even engagement with various page components and assessment questions. It may sound a little Orwellian, But as more digital technology gets used in educational settings, more data is generated, and more and finer insights can be gleaned from it, all with the ostensible goal of improving both the experience and results of educational systems. Learning analytics are here. As costs drop and capabilities improve, they will become part of a new normal in education. In time, they may expect this and personalized data-driven guidance on how best to succeed. Until these same machines tell me how to teach, I will compile and synthesize information from students, colleagues, and educational literature. I will critically reflect on my instructional practice with my personal teaching philosophy in mind, and then act on any new conclusions. So how am I going to prepare for this exciting, data-driven future in education? My professional development plan assignment included my vision and a goal to redesign and relaunch my website with these related objectives. Redesigning the information architecture of the entire site, creating a number of wireframes and content pieces, then analyzing and measuring their success. These web development blueprints will facilitate my specific evaluation strategy of embedding data collection within each lesson content page of my website. This includes pre-assessment questions to gauge prior knowledge and opinions of the learner, additional questions interspersed throughout the material to formatively assess knowledge and comprehension while providing feedback as the lesson progresses, opportunities for student reaction and feedback of the lesson at the end of each instructional unit. With these elements and the aggregated data they collect, I will be able to measure learners' reaction to the lesson and capture important comments. These reactions will be connected to specific lessons, which will help me pinpoint areas that need improvement. Evaluate learning. I will compare the results of pre- and post-assessments within the lesson. I could incorporate Experience API technology to better track individual learners, but ethical and privacy concerns mean that I will most likely just migrate my lessons to the confines of a learning management system if I ever do need to track discrete results rather than the aggregates. In any case, aggregated formative assessment results can still be compared to summative results. Until I migrate these lessons, I will simply ask learners if they have completed them before they begin any associated unit test within the LMS. These initial levels of Don Kirkpatrick's evaluation model can be captured around the time of instruction. I foresee some difficulty measuring levels 3 and 4, behavior and results without continued contact after instruction has ended. I enjoy catching up with former students at the wholesaler, on the job sites, and at union meetings. Sometimes they share anecdotes of applying their learning or encountering a challenge. While this is informative, I have little say in setting the outcomes and content of electrical apprenticeship technical training in BC, despite assisting with the last program revision. So for this specific evaluation strategy and the affected lessons, I will concentrate my efforts at levels 1 and 2 of Kirkpatrick's model. For any additional courses that I create for industry stakeholders, I will follow the ADDIE model and consider how to measure all 4 of Kirkpatrick's levels. It is often more important to gauge how well my learners have applied their training and achieved the desired outcomes for these type of smaller scale courses. I will compare aggregated lesson reactions to aggregated assessment scores for both the formative and summative assessments. I will read feedback comments for additional clues and insights into my students' perspectives. I will compare question answers to the learning material and stated lesson outcomes. I will assess if the data reveals any flaws or gaps in the lesson content and assessment. One method is to look for a correlation between how well students scored on a particular quiz question and their overall score. I can compare formative and summative assessment results overall and by topic by using careful question classifications. Once I have collected and analyzed the formative assessment results and reactions to my online lessons, I will communicate the results to peers and my supervisor as appropriate. When I act upon the data and use it to help fine-tune my lessons, I will include a changelog note and thank you within the affected lesson. I may compile and distribute reports within my department according to protocol. Any personalized data will remain within the confines of the institution's LMS and IT infrastructure. I will look at best practices, legislation, and ethical considerations beyond any workplace policy. Feedback is a critical component of effective education. Both students and instructors need to know how they are doing and how to improve. As learning analytics mature, data collection should be designed into learning materials.
If we're facing in the right direction, all we have to do is keep on walking.
Yep, very nice.